Random House Audio presents At the Devil's Table, the untold story of the insider who brought down the Cali Cartel, by William C. Rempel. Read for you by Fred Sanders. Prologue. Wrong number. Washington, D.C., Monday, June 12, 1995. A late spring storm had turned the U.S. Capitol wet and dreary. Under heavy overcast, the streets were so dark at midday that drivers turned on their headlights. But on C Street, the sun was shining in one corner of the State Department, the office of the Assistant Secretary of State for International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, fondly referred to by its occupants as the Office of the Secretary for Drugs and Thugs. The staff of Ambassador Robert S. Gelbard was celebrating news that U.S. and Colombian drug agents had just captured one of the biggest names in the Cali cocaine cartel. After months of Gelbard's incessant cajoling, urging, and browbeating, the Bogota government had finally brought down a prominent trafficking target. It was hardly a crippling blow to the world's richest criminal enterprise. The boss of bosses, the head of the cartel, remained at large and under the protection, it seemed, of the most powerful political forces in Colombia. Still, Gelbard and his staff dared to hope that the Cali syndicate could be dismantled. Across the Potomac in Langley, Virginia, a telephone operator picked up an incoming call at about 1:30. "Central Intelligence Agency," she said pleasantly. "Yes, hello. Please, pardon my English," responded a Latin-accented voice in perfect English. "I'm calling from Colombia. I have some important information about the Cali drug cartel. The head of the cartel, I know his location." "Yes, sir. And how may I direct your call?" "Well, your agency has people here. They are trying to find this man. I am offering my assistance." "Thank you, sir. How may I direct your call?" After a long pause, the man said that he knew no one at the CIA by name, but would gladly talk to anyone interested in capturing Miguel Rodriguez Orejuela, godfather of the Colombian cocaine syndicate. The operator seemed neither skeptical nor impressed. She simply remained pleasant and asked to be provided a specific office, officer, or telephone extension. The caller pressed her. "Do you have a fax number?" "I'm sorry." "Do you have a number for tips or anonymous sources?" "No, I'm sorry. Perhaps you can call back later." About 2,500 miles south, the man who had just called the CIA returned a black telephone receiver to its cradle. He was tall and dark-haired, with a neatly trimmed beard. His dressy casual attire, typical of the tropics, gave little hint of his background. To strangers in the busy downtown telecom building, he might have passed for a middle-aged university professor, an off-duty judge, or a bank vice president. He lingered for a few moments in the soundproof privacy of the phone booth. His hands were still trembling. He had risked his life to place that call. He took a slow, deep breath and replayed the conversation in his mind. It seemed absurd, until he realized that the operator wasn't inept. She was screening calls. He was just another nuisance caller, a nutcase. And maybe he was, in fact, crazy. If Miguel and the other Cali cartel bosses ever suspected that he had dialed the CIA, he was dead. No trial, no defense, just a few bullets to the brain, if he was lucky. There were worse ways to die. He had come close to some of them. But on that afternoon in mid-June, he knew what he was doing. He was desperate, but he was no nutcase. He was 47 and a family man, and for the previous 6.5 years he had been a top aide to one of the most ruthless and powerful crime bosses in the world. Now he wanted out of the cartel, out of an organization that discouraged retirement or resignations. As he stepped from the phone booth, he kept an eye out for anyone familiar, ready with an excuse to explain his presence in the telecom building. After all, convenient cartel phones were nearby, but they wouldn't do. Cartel wiretaps were everywhere. He knew better than most that there wasn't a private telephone anywhere in Cali that was genuinely private. He emerged into the humid 86-degree heat of a Cali afternoon. Across the street was the red brick Iglesia de San Francisco, an 18th-century church and civic attraction with its distinctive Mudéjar-style bell tower. He slipped into its cool, dim sanctuary and approached the altar. He had to think about his next move. He had confided to no one his desperate plan to bring down the cartel boss, not even to his wife, although he was putting her and their children in grave danger. He told himself that she wouldn't want to know. She would be terrified, and worse, she might be unable to hide her fear. He had to withhold the truth for her own protection, to protect all of their lives. He had never felt so alone. Beyond the Father, Son, and Holy Mother to whom he prayed, the man falling to his knees near the altar of Iglesia de San Francisco that afternoon trusted no one but the CIA, and he couldn't even get past the Langley switchboard operator. The main character in this story is known to the author as Jorge Salcedo. In Colombia, he was known as Jorge. Part 1. The Cartel War Years, 1989 to 1993. 6.5 years earlier, Bogotá, Colombia, mid-January 1989. Jorge Salcedo stowed his carry-on bag in an overhead compartment and dropped into a window seat of the aging Boeing 727. It was an early morning flight out of Bogotá to Cali, Colombia, and he was a reluctant traveler. Besides the inconvenient hour, the 41-year-old businessman really could not afford to take time away from his latest venture, a small refinery he was developing to reprocess used motor oil. The project was behind schedule, and here he was flying off on a mystery trip. He had no idea why he was going to Cali. In fact, until arriving at Bogotá's El Dorado International Airport an hour earlier, he didn't even know his destination. "Jorge, you need to come with me. Some people want to meet you," his friend Mario had said on the phone. He was emphatic. He told Jorge to pack an overnight bag, then hung up. Now they were on the plane together. "What's the deal, Mario?" Jorge couldn't hide a tone of impatience as he turned to his friend settling into the aisle seat. "What are we doing here?" Like Jorge, Mario was in his early 40s, fit, trim, and exuding confidence. Even in casual civilian clothes, he looked military, like someone out of central casting. But the recently retired Major Mario del Basto was the real thing, a highly decorated soldier. "After takeoff," he assured Jorge, "we'll talk." He gave a nod toward strangers still standing in the aisle. Jorge had always trusted Mario. The two had been good friends since soon after Jorge joined the Colombian Army Reserves in 1984. Mario, an officer in the regular army, became commanding officer of Jorge's Cali-based reserve unit. The major relied on Jorge as an intelligence officer with valuable skills in weaponry, electronic surveillance, radio technologies, and photography. The Army Reserve was an unpaid volunteer position, but it gave Jorge the taste of a military career like that of his father, General Jorge Salcedo. The senior Salcedo had been a contender for chief of Colombia's armed forces, and he remained a prominent public figure nearly 25 years after his retirement in the mid-1960s. Jorge saw reflections of his father in Major del Basto. Both were career army officers. Both wore uniforms with chests full of medals for valor. Both had extensive experience fighting anti-government guerrillas. Growing up the son of a general provided Jorge with many advantages, from financial security and social respect to opportunities for travel, including an extended stay in the United States while his father was on assignment in Kansas. It also influenced his views on groups like FARC, FARC, Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia, or Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, against whom his father waged war. At home and in the reserves, Jorge saw the guerrillas as irredeemable terrorists, and he came to share frustrations widely held in the military that government-sanctioned peace talks simply allowed guerrillas to regroup and resupply. "We're trying to talk them to death," Mario complained to Jorge. Even for a military hero like Major del Basto, such criticism of the civilian leadership was dangerous. He shared his opinions only with close friends until his rage could be contained no longer. At the close of 1988, del Basto rejected a promotion to colonel and quit the...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?